Before you scroll, stop, take a breath, listen closely. Because what's coming next is not something you randomly stumbled onto. This showed up on your screen for a reason. And if you scroll now, you will feel it in your spirit later. You'll look back and realize you skipped the very message God was trying to get through to you. So don't move, don't click away. You're here because heaven is trying to interrupt your plans long enough to reach your heart. There's something God needs to talk to you about, and it's serious. You've been ignoring the signs, brushing off the warnings, pretending you're fine, pushing down what you really feel. And God is done letting you walk around carrying battles you were never meant to fight alone. This is your moment of clarity. This is your moment of truth. This is your moment of awakening. You've been struggling in silence. People think you're strong because you don't show everything. People think you're okay because you smile through the pain. People think you're moving on because you don't talk about what keeps you awake at night. But God sees the truth you don't say out loud. He sees the tears nobody else sees. He hears the thoughts you never speak. And right now, He's saying, "My child, I need your attention. I need you to hear me. I need you to stop trying to carry this storm by yourself." You've been trying to pretend you're unbothered, unfazed, untouched by the betrayal, the disappointment, the fear, the loss. But deep down, you're tired, you're exhausted, you're worn out from being strong for too long, you're overwhelmed by emotions you've been avoiding. And God is stepping in because the weight you're carrying has become too heavy for one person. You've been praying, but you've also been doubting. You've been hopping, but you've also been hurting. You've been asking for signs, but ignoring the ones God already sent. The people who walked away, the plans that didn't work out, the doors that never opened, the people who disappointed you, none of that was punishment, none of that was rejection, none of that was failure. It was protection, divine protection, and you keep calling loss what God calls rescue. You've been holding on to things, people, memories, expectations that God has been trying to remove from your life, not because He wants you to suffer, but because He knows what's ahead. He knows the intentions of hearts you can't see. He knows the conversations behind closed doors. He knows the traps the enemy has been setting. He knows who is real and who is pretending. You've been asking for peace, but you're still holding onto what destroys your peace. You've been asking for healing, but you're still clinging to what keeps reopening the wound. You've been asking for blessings, but you're not making room for them. And God is saying, it's time to let go. It's time to stop carrying what's breaking you. It's time to stop going back to what I pulled you away from. You feel stuck because you're trying to drag old situations into a new season. You feel confused because you're trying to make sense of things God already closed the door on. You feel spiritually drained because you keep feeding connections that were never meant to grow. Listen closely, this is serious. God is not warning you to scare you, He's warning you to save you. Someone in your life right now cannot go with you into your next chapter. Someone is pulling at your peace, draining your energy, and weakening your spirit. Someone is secretly not for you, even though they pretend to care. Someone is blocking the next blessing God wants to release. And God has been giving you signs. He's been making you uncomfortable. He's been giving you dreams. He's been stirring your spirit. He's been whispering, walk away, let go, move on, trust me. But you keep fighting what God is trying to free you from. You keep waiting for someone to change when God has already shown you their true intentions. You keep holding on to hope in a place where God has already taken His hand off. You keep giving chances to someone who only gives you pain. And God is saying, stop, before this breaks you even deeper, before this delays you even longer, before this hurts you in ways I can no longer protect you from. This is your wake-up call, your spiritual alarm. This is God grabbing your attention because you've been avoiding the truth. And the truth is, you deserve better, you deserve healing, you deserve peace, you deserve someone who values you, you deserve a life that reflects God's love, not your trauma. You've cried long enough, you've questioned yourself long enough, you've given away pieces of your soul long enough. It's time to choose you, it's time to choose healing, it's time to choose God's path instead of your own. This next part is important. Don't skip, don't move, don't scroll. God isn't just warning you, He's also preparing you. Something big is coming, a shift, a breakthrough, a divine reversal, a restoration you thought would never happen, a blessing that will make sense of every tear you cried. But you cannot receive what's coming while holding on to what's killing your spirit. So God is telling you today, let go, detach, release it, step back, move forward. I have something greater waiting for you. You don't need to have the strength. God will give it. You don't need to know the future. God already planned it. You don't need to understand everything. Just trust. He's not asking you to figure out how. He's asking you to take the first step. This is not the end of you. This is the rebirthing of you. Your spirit is waking up. Your purpose is calling. Your peace is returning. Your strength is rising again. You didn't click this video accidentally. This message was sent to find you, because God refuses to let you walk into another day carrying something that is not meant to stay in your life. You're being called into a season of clarity, protection, and divine direction. If you're ready for the next part of the message, if you're ready for peace, if you're ready to move into what God has for you, keep watching. You need to hear this without filters. The person God is aligning you with is probably not the person you would have chosen for yourself. Not because you're blind or foolish, but because your desires have been shaped by patterns, wounds, habits, and expectations that don't match where you're going. Your preferences were built from your past, but God chooses based on your purpose, and purpose always outweighs preference. People often chase what feels familiar, even if familiar has been toxic, draining, or inconsistent. You've been drawn in the past to people who mirrored your wounds more than your worth. You found yourself stuck in cycles with people who matched your trauma, not your destiny. So when God brings someone who breaks those patterns, someone stable where you're used to chaos, someone patient where you're used to emotional games, someone honest where you're used to manipulation, your instinct is to hesitate, because growth often feels uncomfortable when you've lived in survival mode for too long. God's chosen person doesn't arrive to make you feel powerful or validated on a superficial level. They're not here to stroke your ego or keep your illusions alive. They push you. They challenge the version of you you've outgrown. They gently confront the patterns that kept you stuck. They awaken parts of you that you buried. Their presence exposes the difference between the life you've settled for and the life you're actually meant to live. That's why this connection hits differently, because it forces you to step into a higher version of yourself. This person sees you in a way you're not used to being seen. They don't just look at your personality, they see your spirit. They notice the things you try to hide. They recognize your potential, not just your appearance. They connect with the layers you don't show everyone, and instead of pulling away from your vulnerabilities, they move toward them. They bring a sense of safety you didn't even realize you needed. That kind of depth is uncomfortable when you've mastered the art of pretending you're fine. There's a good chance you didn't notice this person properly the first time, not because they were unimportant, because you weren't ready. Maybe your focus was elsewhere. Maybe you were chasing the wrong person. Maybe you were battling your own wounds. Maybe you didn't have the spiritual clarity to see their value. Sometimes God places the right person in your life at the wrong time because both of you still need to grow separately. The connection was real, the timing was, but timing can be corrected. Purpose doesn't change. One thing that always reveals God's hand on a connection is the emotional energy surrounding it. The person God chooses doesn't bring stress, anxiety, inconsistency, or emotional highs and lows. They don't drain you. They don't confuse you. They don't make you feel like you have to earn their love or compete for their attention. Their presence brings a sense of grounding, steadiness, and peace. Even if things are complicated, the connection itself feels safe. Peace is one of God's clearest signals. Chaos is not. This person doesn't distract you from your purpose, they pull you deeper into it. You start thinking differently around them, you feel more aligned, you start dreaming bigger, you become more intentional, your spirit becomes more awake. Something in you becomes stronger, calmer, more focused. That's what a divine partnership does. It elevates you, it doesn't shrink you, it activates something inside you that the wrong people kept shutting down. There's a sense of inevitability about this person that you can't explain logically. No matter how much distance, time, fear, or distraction has entered the picture, something keeps bringing you back to them in your spirit. You feel drawn to them in a way that doesn't make sense on paper, but makes perfect sense in your soul. It's not obsession. It's not fantasy. It's spiritual recognition. Your soul knows something your mind hasn't fully accepted yet. And let's be completely honest here. Some of the people you wanted most in the past were driven by your loneliness, your wounds, your need for attention, or your desire to avoid being alone. But this person, this connection, it comes from a different place. It's not trauma-based, it's not neediness, it's not fear, it's alignment, it's purpose, it's destiny, it's God saying, this is someone who fits the future I've prepared for you. What makes this person different is that the connection feels deeper than your preferences. You might not have expected them, you might not have considered them at first, you might have even dismissed them, but something keeps pulling you back toward them, not in desperation, but in clarity. It's like your spirit is already 2 steps ahead of your mind. The person God chooses won't feel like the past. They won't feel like a repeated cycle. They won't trigger your fear responses. They won't bring emotional games or inconsistency. They will feel like something new, something stable, something matured by God's timing. And that newness might scare you because new often feels risky. But what feels risky to you is actually what's right for you. God's chosen person fits your destiny, not your doubts. They align with your future, not your fears. They speak to your spirit, not your insecurities. They bring out the best in you, not the broken in you. And even if this wasn't who you expected, deep down you know this is someone who could actually walk with you, grow with you, build with you, and stand with you. The truth is simple. God's choice rarely matches your list, but it always matches your purpose. You can try to deny it, distract yourself, bury it, or pretend it's nothing, but your heart keeps circling back to this person for a reason you haven't fully admitted yet. It's not weakness. It's not nostalgia. It's not emotional dependency. It's something deeper, something spiritual, and you know it, even if you've avoided saying it out loud. When your heart repeatedly returns to someone, especially after time has passed, after emotions have calmed, after distractions have faded, that's not an accident. That's alignment. That's connection. That's spiritual gravity pulling you towards something your mind still doesn't have language for. You've tried moving on. You've tried detaching. You've tried talking yourself out of it. You've tried being logical. You've tried convincing yourself that it's just a phase. But if it were just a phase, it would have ended by now. Instead, the connection keeps resurfacing in your mind, your spirit, your dreams, and your quiet moments. It's like your heart knows something you're too cautious to admit. You don't keep thinking about this person because you're desperate. You keep thinking about them because something about the connection never actually died. It went dormant, not dead. And every time you feel that pull, it wakes up again. You can ignore people, you can forget people, you can walk away from people, but you cannot escape someone whose spirit is tied to your destiny. That connection holds a different weight. It doesn't fade the way temporary attachments do. It doesn't get replaced by distractions. It doesn't disappear because your life got busy. It stays, quietly, consistently, steadily, and that consistency is the biggest clue. Your heart isn't confused. Your emotions aren't confused. Your soul is trying to tell you something your mind keeps resisting. This person matters, more than you wanted them to, more than you planned, more than you expected. There's a reason you don't feel this way about anyone else. There's a reason no one else can replicate that internal pull. There's a reason the connection feels unfinished, even if the chapter seemed closed. It's because the story isn't over. When God scripts a connection, He doesn't let it dissolve just because time passed or circumstances changed. He keeps the spiritual thread intact. And that thread is what you keep feeling tug on your heart. Every time you think you've detached, something pulls at you again, a memory, a name, a dream, a feeling, a moment, an intuition. That pull is evidence. And it's not coming from loneliness. Loneliness is loud, desperate, and heavy. This pull is calm, quiet, steady, persistent, the kind of pull that feels like truth, not emotion. You don't feel chaos when you think of this person. You feel clarity, you feel recognition, you feel something in you settle rather than spiral. That's not infatuation, that's spiritual resonance. There's also this unspoken depth in your connection with them, a depth you haven't been able to recreate with anyone else, no matter how hard you tried. You've met other people, you've talked to other people, you've entertained other options, but none of those connections felt like home. None of them activated your spirit the way this one did. None of them felt familiar in a comforting way. None of them reached that quiet part of your soul that this person somehow unlocked without even trying. That's why you keep returning internally, not because you're stuck, but because something inside you knows this connection carries divine purpose. You've also noticed something: the more you heal, the clearer the connection feels. The cleaner your mind gets, the louder your intuition becomes, the more spiritually grounded you are, the more this person comes into focus. Healing doesn't erase them, it highlights them. That's not a coincidence. People tied to your trauma fade once the trauma heals. People tied to your purpose become clearer once you heal. There's a huge difference. Your heart isn't running back to old pain, it's returning to a familiar truth. And let's confront another reality. Something in you softened whenever this person was involved, even when the situation was imperfect, even when the timing was off, even when communication was messy. Something about them had a calming effect on your spirit. They awakened something in you: hope, vulnerability, honesty, self-awareness, things you didn't show easily to anyone else. You don't give that level of access to just anyone. Your spirit doesn't open up that deeply for just anyone. Your intuition doesn't recognize just anyone. This was different, it still is. No matter how much time passes, the connection doesn't dissolve. It stabilizes, it deepens, it becomes quieter but stronger. And there's another truth you haven't told yourself yet. You've tried to replace this connection, but nothing has measured up. Not emotionally, not spiritually, not energetically. That's because divinely aligned connections aren't replaceable. You can find chemistry with many people, you can find attraction with many people, you can find interest with many people, but you can't find this level of soul recognition with just anyone. This connection carries weight, it's anchored, it's rooted, it's spiritually charged. And deep down, you know it. Your heart keeps returning because God isn't finished with this story. Your heart keeps returning because there's unfinished purpose. Your heart keeps returning because this person isn't random, they're significant. People who aren't part of your destiny fade out easily. People who are part of your destiny remain woven into your spirit. Something powerful begins to happen when you stop begging for clarity and start preparing for what's coming. This is the part most people fail at. They stay stuck in confusion, overthinking every detail, imagining scenarios that will never happen, doubting their value, or assuming that God forgot them. But that's not you, not anymore. Because right now, God is shifting you from questioning to receiving. This connection you're being led toward isn't random. It's not a distraction. It's not some emotional impulse. It's a divine alignment that needed time, patience, and growth to become possible. And the moment you stop trying to control it, the moment you loosen your grip on how you think it should unfold, that's the moment God starts moving faster. You can't rush into a relationship God is still preparing. You can't force someone whose heart God is still working on. And you can't stay attached to people who were never meant to carry your future. That's why certain situations fell apart. That's why someone walked away. That's why you felt lonely even when you were surrounded by people. God was clearing the space. God was emptying your hands. God was removing the noise, the confusion, the counterfeit connections, and the emotional clutter that would have blocked the blessing He's bringing. If your heart still feels tired, that's fine. If your trust feels shaky, that's normal. You're not failing, you're transitioning. Healing isn't instant, and preparation isn't supposed to be comfortable. You've been stretched, tested, humbled, and reshaped. But everything you went through strengthened you for the person you're being led to, not just emotionally, but spiritually. Because what's coming isn't ordinary, it's purposeful. It's meant to change your life. This connection will require honesty, maturity, patience, and emotional courage. And God is making sure you have exactly that, not the naive version of you, not the broken version of you, not the insecure version of you, but the upgraded version of you. The version that knows how to communicate, how to give love without losing themselves, how to receive love without doubting whether they deserve it. Pay attention to how God is preparing you. Pay attention to the subtle changes in your mindset. Pay attention to the people He's pulling you away from and the ones He's drawing closer. Pay attention to the opportunities. There comes a point where God stops preparing you in private and begins positioning you in plain sight. You're entering that phase now. This is where everything starts aligning faster, where the people who aren't meant for your future quietly fade out, where certain emotions hit you harder, and where spiritual clarity becomes impossible to ignore. You can feel that shift already. Something in your spirit knows something is coming, even if your mind can't explain it yet. This person you're being guided toward is part of that shift. Their presence, even if small or distant right now, carries a sense of peace you don't normally feel. You might not talk every day, you might not even be close yet, but there's something about them that resonates on a level deeper than attraction. It's like your soul recognizes them long before your life fully does. And here's the part you need to sit with. God is not sending you someone to repeat cycles with. He's sending you someone to break cycles with. Someone who disrupts the patterns that hurt you. Someone who challenges the negative beliefs you've held about love. Someone who doesn't take from you. Someone who adds to you. That's why God has been dealing with your inner world so heavily. The insecurities, the fear of being vulnerable again, the tendency to assume the worst, the way you brace for disappointment even when things are going well. You've been carrying scars from relationships where you had to fight for attention, settle for crumbs, or constantly prove your worth. Those experiences conditioned you to think love has to be painful to be real. But this next connection doesn't come with pain, it comes with purpose. This person will not make you feel like you're begging to be understood. They will naturally get you, they will meet your energy, they will match your loyalty, they will speak to your soul without you having to wear a mask. They will feel familiar, safe, warm, grounding, even if the situation is new. You're not used to that, and that's exactly why you might question it at first. Good things feel unfamiliar when you've survived too many storms. God is preparing you to receive something healthy, something stable, something that doesn't disappear when things get complicated, and that requires you to let go of the idea that you need to overthink everything. You don't. When it's God-sent, it flows. It doesn't force you to chase. It doesn't pressure you to perform. It doesn't make you shrink yourself. This connection will grow naturally, but not accidentally. God is orchestrating every shift, every coincidence, every feeling, every moment of clarity. He's bringing both of you into alignment not through chaos, but through peace. So stop assuming you're imagining it. Stop dismissing what you feel. Stop ignoring the signs because they don't fit your logic. God isn't trying to confuse you, He's trying to get your attention. You're on the edge of something beautifully unexpected, and when the moment arrives, it won't feel rushed. It won't feel forced. It will feel right. There's a point in every divine connection where God starts revealing what your heart has been sensing all along. You're stepping into that point now. This is where everything becomes a little clearer, where the internal tug you've been feeling suddenly gains direction, and where the doubts that once held you back lose their power. God is not just nudging you, He's guiding you intentionally. And here's something you need to face with full honesty. You've been trying to silence a feeling that refuses to leave. You've tried to label it as coincidence, wishful thinking, or emotional projection. But the truth is, it keeps returning because it's not coming from your imagination. It's coming from your spirit. And your spirit is picking up on something your logic hasn't caught up to yet. This person you're being aligned with is just someone you find interesting. There's depth in the connection that you can't fully explain. Something about their presence feels safe, grounding, and strangely familiar. Something about the way you think of them or feel drawn to them goes beyond surface emotions. It's as if your heart recognizes something meaningful before your mind can process it. That's not infatuation, that's divine alignment. When God prepares two people for a significant union, romantic, spiritual, or purpose-connected, He often awakens an inner awareness long before the physical circumstances align. That awareness is happening inside you now, and instead of running from it, you need to start understanding it. This isn't about obsession, it's about resonance. Their energy connects with yours in a way you don't feel with most people. Their spirit sits comfortably with yours. You don't feel drained, ignored, or confused when you think of them. You feel a sense of possibility, comfort, or clarity, something peaceful that makes you pay attention. God works through that kind of peace, not chaos. But here's the challenge. If you're not careful, fear can distort what God is trying to reveal. You might catch yourself thinking things like, what if I'm wrong? What if I'm expecting too much? What if I get hurt again? What if this is just in my head? Those thoughts come from past wounds, not divine guidance. And if you let them take over, you'll sabotage what God is aligning for you. You've done that before. You've talked yourself out of blessings, downplayed your intuition, or convinced yourself you weren't worthy of what you wanted. That pattern can't continue. Not now. Not when God is clearly moving. You're not being set up for disappointment. You're being prepared for clarity. The signs are not random. The emotions are not accidental. The timing is not coincidence. God is making you aware of who this person is, little by little, so your heart is ready when the moment arrives. The connection might not look perfect right now. It might not be defined. It might not even make sense yet. But that's because God is still preparing both sides. The alignment is forming behind the scenes, and when everything clicks into place, it will happen naturally without manipulation or force. Your role right now is simple: stay open, stay honest with yourself, stay connected to God, and stop assuming you're misreading the signs. You're not. You're finally seeing what God has been trying to show you all along. There's a point in every divine connection where God starts revealing what your heart has been sensing all along. You're stepping into that point now. This is where everything becomes a little clearer, where the internal tug you've been feeling suddenly gains direction, and where the doubts that once held you back lose their power. God is not just nudging you, He's guiding you intentionally. And here's something you need to face with full honesty. You've been trying to silence a feeling that refuses to leave. You've tried to label it as coincidence, wishful thinking, or emotional projection. But the truth is, it keeps returning because it's not coming from your imagination. It's coming from your spirit. And your spirit is picking up on something your logic hasn't caught up to yet. This person you're being aligned with is just someone you find interesting. There's depth in the connection that you can't fully explain. Something about their presence feels safe, grounding, and strangely familiar. Something about the way you think of them or feel drawn to them goes beyond surface emotions. It's as if your heart recognizes something meaningful before your mind can process it. That's not infatuation, that's divine alignment. When God prepares two people for a significant union, romantic, spiritual, or purpose-connected, He often awakens an inner awareness long before the physical circumstances align. That awareness is happening inside you now, and instead of running from it, you need to start understanding it. This isn't about obsession, it's about resonance. Their energy connects with yours in a way you don't feel with most people. Their spirit sits comfortably with yours. You don't feel drained, ignored, or confused when you think of them. You feel a sense of possibility, comfort, or clarity, something peaceful that makes you pay attention. God works through that kind of peace, not chaos. But here's the challenge. If you're not careful, fear can distort what God is trying to reveal. You might catch yourself thinking things like, what if I'm wrong? What if I'm expecting too much? What if I get hurt again? What if this is just in my head? Those thoughts come from past wounds, not divine guidance. And if you let them take over, you'll sabotage what God is aligning for you. You've done that before. You've talked yourself out of blessings, downplayed your intuition, or convinced yourself you weren't worthy of what you wanted. That pattern can't continue. Not now. Not when God is clearly moving. You're not being set up for disappointment. You're being prepared for clarity. The signs are not random. The emotions are not accidental. The timing is not coincidence. God is making you aware of who this person is, little by little, so your heart is ready when the moment arrives. The connection might not look perfect right now. It might not be defined. It might not even make sense yet. But that's because God is still preparing both sides. The alignment is forming behind the scenes, And when everything clicks into place, it will happen naturally without manipulation or force. Your role right now is simple: stay open, stay honest with yourself, stay connected to God, and stop assuming you're misreading the signs. You're not. You're finally seeing what God has been trying to show you all along. There comes a stage in every divine alignment where God stops whispering and starts positioning. You're stepping into that stage right now. This is where everything begins to connect: the emotions, the signs, the timing, the unexpected.